Hello and welcome to the B Roll, the official podcast of the PNMC Fest. I am Angela Ray and I am your host, and we have another great episode for you on today. Just want to remind you that the PNMC Fest is a program of the Passon Art Theater Company located in Portland, Oregon. The 2023 festival will take place August 17th through the 20th. And today we have one of our co-chairs on as the special guest. Bobby Yan is a second-generation Chinese-American director and writer from New York City. He graduated from Tulane University in New Orleans and holds a master's degree from NYU in visual effects. And we are super excited to have him on the show today. So welcome, Bobby Yan. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Angela, for having me. I appreciate you. And thanks for the PNMC Festival with Sean, Gary, everybody for inviting me over. I'm super glad to be part of this festival. Thank you.
We're excited to have you as a part of the festival and to have you as co-chair as well. So let's talk a little bit about how you got your start in entertainment.
Well, I guess as you know, I'm born. Can you hear me? You can hear me, right?
I can hear you,
Correct.
yes.
Born and raised in New York City. I was born in Washington Heights. And it was a very cultural time back when I was there. This is pre-gentrification. And then eventually, my family and I moved to Hollis, Queens, another very cultural neighborhood. So I think I am a product of culture. So I think as a young kid that was into storytelling, the arts, filmmaking became a very natural, part of who I was as an expressive kid. I just literally found myself loving to tell stories through the visual media, right? So whether it was through painting, whether it was through writing, I think filmmaking, directing in general was a very natural home for me to put all of my skills, my passion, the oral traditions of storytelling together, and also just expressing who I was, in terms of where I started from, who I am. So I started actually in music videos. Was my initial entry into production. Like most people, I interned on a lot of sets, starting off really young, and I just slowly kind of moved up the ladder. I started with a few people. Ralph McDaniels from Video Music Box. I want to give him a little bit of a shout out. He's an icon in the music game as well as New York City. He started really introducing music videos to the masses, especially hip hop culture, through a TV show in New York that became a kind of a national treasure in New York City and is still on the air to this day. So I kind of credit him as well as a few other people to starting my transition into who I am today. So through music videos, I did that for several years, for a really long time. And then I eventually was able to just transition over to narratives, starting with my first short that I shot, which was a proof of concept for a film called Mars, which did really well in the film festival circuit. What's important to me as a filmmaker is to just really express who you are, express your spirit, express what's important to you. So that's what filmmaking is, for me. And it's also about sharing the power of communication through understanding, with today's social media, with today's films and television, how culture is represented within this medium. I think for me, I studied communication in college as well. From an early age, I understood the power of communication and the power of media and how it all holds together. It's also how it documents culture. It expresses the zeitgeist of where we are in society at every given moment. So I think for me, filmmaking is that, and with the power of filmmaking in terms of what I do as a director, I understand how we can use that to shift culture, to bind cultures together, to help us communicate better, to create really a shift in consciousness in terms of positive energy, humanitarian efforts to really build and get us to all be together instead of so divisive in this world that we have right now, which can be very divisive. So
Absolutely. And oftentimes the art, film, television, even those content creators on social media can kind of bridge that gap to bring us all together with uplifting narratives and stories.
yes, yes.
So you started off with music videos and then shot a proof of concept that did well in the festival circuit. Talk about how you were able to make that jump from there to getting to directing. Like you're doing a lot of television movies now. What was that first initial opportunity, conversation, email, DM, however it came together that helped you make that transition?
Um, I think like directing for me has been a lifelong journey, right? So uh, the craft of directing is something that I was really, since I was 14 years old, I started studying. I was buying books on directing. I was buying books on screenwriting, and I think it was just the culmination of ultimately when I got to the point where I was able to shift successfully from the music videos, which again, I look back on my music video days and I'm very thankful for everything that I learned because it was really a wonderful time to study production, to learning how to work with crew, to able to tell a visual story in a very quick way. Um, so I think that was my training ground for many, many years to practice the art of directing, right? The craft of directing. So for me, uh, was it a DM? It was a series of things. Life brings you to many places when you're ready, right? So I think at the point that I transitioned over to my first television movie, I was basically ready for it, you know. So and then I just got it got an email. It's almost like the time was right. God was like, it's time, and here it is. Then I got the call, I got the email, and say, here's a script. Would you like to direct it? So I think again, when the time is right and you're ready for it, and you pinpoint what you want, that's what it is. But it also is, which is why I'm excited to do this masterclass with you guys on directing. It's also understanding the craft of what you're doing. If someone that says they want to be a director, uh, I'm always asking them. I said, okay, well, are you practicing? Are you studying? If you want to do it, you got to do it. It's not just to say, oh, I know how to just tell people what to do in front of a camera. It's more than that. It's as an actress, it's much more than that. There's an art, there's a craft to acting. There's an art and a craft to directing. As a director, I think for me, the craft of it is so important to study, to put into implementation. Um, so I guess going back to your question, I'm very long-winded. I apologize. Uh, when the time is right, you got the skills, and then you're ready for it. You'll know, but you still got to put in the work. I think that's what my heart is when I'm trying to be a mentor, a teacher to other people, other students of the craft right now. Is I love to give back to the community. I truly do love that. So for me, it's understand your craft, understand what it is about directing, study it, every day, read scripts, watch television, watch movies, watch TV shows with a different eye. And that's kind of what I do. I've been doing that for years.
What is your approach to working with actors? And what I mean by that is I have some experience directing on stage. And one of the things that I notice when I'm switching roles from being an actress to being a director for theater, as an actress, I'm more physically exhausted. As a director, I'm more mentally exhausted. And I have to be
Mm,
very careful not to work actors to the point of exhaustion because I'm not feeling that physicality. So it's something that I have to remind myself, and I'm very much aware when I'm directing. Let's make sure that they have the proper breaks and, that they have an opportunity to rejuvenate. So, for you as a director of film and television, what's your approach to working with actors?
it's collaboration, number one. It's the fact that you tell me that you can feel the physical exhaustion and that the director can feel the mental exhaustion is very true. We definitely directors are mentally challenged, in a good way. It's using the mental abilities to see everything, to guide the actor toward that beat or that emotional, you know, arc, right? Is to help find that place. So for me, collaboration is how I work with the actors. Is finding those beats and finding those arcs, finding where the character is together, in agreement, you know. So for me, that's 100% is how I work is collaboration with the actors.
There are some directors who find a relationship with an actor and actress from that standpoint of they just work really well together. Have you had an opportunity to have that relationship yet? Are you still, working, not necessarily to find that particular kind of relationship, but do you have like one of those actors that it's like, yes, anytime I can get her or him into a project I'm working on, I want to work with this person?
I've worked with some incredible actors. Been blessed to work with some incredible actors at this point. Most of whom I would love to work with again, honestly. So yes, I think I've had really good relationships with some of the actors that I've worked with that I do hope to work with and grow with again on future projects, and some who are new, some who are established, you know. And in most cases, I want to see them get bigger roles. I want to see them grow or even just change genres, do something completely different. I think for me personally, as a creative, I've never been the type of person to feel like I want to be constrained in one space. It's just not part of who I am as a spirit. I think I'm a very free spirited person. So, especially creatively. So, I respect when an actor comes to me and says, I want to do something that I've never done before. I'm like, really? Let's try it. I think that's fun. It's fun to challenge yourself. It's something that, especially if you're typecast, right? So, and I think I've worked with a lot of actors of color specifically, you get typecast, and I like to see that break. I like to see actors be able to do different things that you just don't expect them to do. And I think as a storyteller, as a writer, that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to. You know, why not see more Asians doing something different than just being a doctor? You know, why can't a young black male? Why do they have to just do a street role? It's ridiculous. Let's have them do something completely different. Let's have them in relationships that you see in these other big budget movies that you normally don't touch. And I think that's what a lot of filmmakers that I respect, that I know, they're doing that. So for me, um, I certainly have actors that I would love to work with, and I certainly have actors I've already worked with that I really want to work with again and see them do different things.
Now, you just mentioned dramas or genres and being typecast. For you as a director, is there a particular genre or type of movie that you haven't had the opportunity to direct yet, but you're looking forward to it?
Yeah, I definitely want to do some big sci-fi action type thing. It's always been my dream. That's in fact that's why I went to NYU to study visual effects. With that in mind, was to be able to do the type of big genre action superhero type things that I've always wanted to do. You know, so yeah, definitely.
And so, along with that, is there a genre that you think, I'm going to leave that to these other creatives? Is there something that you feel like that's just not my passion, or I don't feel that that's my calling?
Um, hmm, Not really. I don't think I restrict myself. I mean, a few people have asked me if I wanted to do reality television, but then again, that's literally a different category, right? But in the narrative space, not really. I think there's almost anything that's interesting to me as long as I can empathize with the story or the characters. I'm open to it. So there's nothing that I really wouldn't touch, you know. So, but no, not really. A lot of people ask me, would I direct documentaries? With the right documentary, I mean, that's a very different. That's a different craft. Documentaries, it's still storytelling. I respect it tremendously, but it's a totally different craft. And if I did it, I'd really study the hell out of it to really make sure I do the right job as a documentarian. I have so much respect for them. So,
Mentorship in entertainment is so important. Do you have a mentor, and are you currently mentoring any aspiring filmmakers?
Yes. So I've been blessed. I mean, besides to say Ralph McDaniels from the past, and much respect to him. Uh, Over the last few years, I've been mentored by an amazing director, Mr. Michael Schultz. He's the director of so many amazing films, such as Coolie High, Last Dragon, Crush Groove, uh, Car Wash, you name it. He's such a prolific TV director right now, still working to this day in television. I got my first TV break shadowing him on Black Lightning. It was a really great opportunity. So he was the first person to really help me and saw something in me. And since then, he's been such an amazing family friend, mentor, and most importantly, he's a friend. You know, so yeah, I've been blessed to have certain people like that in my life that have guided me. Uh, offered me such sound advice. You know, I show him all my latest work. I keep him updated. You know, so yes, yes. And in terms of me being a mentor, yes, I've been very big on that in my life. I've mentored a lot of younger directors over the years that some of them are doing really really well to this day. So yes, I have. So it's very important to me to give back. You know, I mean, I am no place right now in my career right now at this moment where I'd like to be, but I will be very soon. And once I am, I will continue to give back because I really, it's in my life mission statement, so to speak, to get to a certain point where I can literally mentor and develop younger talent with their own unique voices, especially voices that are like me, that are into conscious shifting, films, that are into embracing diverse ideas for all cultures. I mean, that's really important to me. It's been important to me since I started when I was 14. You know, so yeah, yes, and yes, that is the answer.
Okay, so somewhat related to mentoring, let's talk a little bit about networking. I feel that that is one of the words that is sometimes misused and overused, but definitely a word and a concept that is often encouraged in entertainment. You want to network with people. You never know. The PA today may be the director tomorrow, or the background actor today may be the lead actor who could put you on and has some type of input. How do you define networking, and what kind of advice would you give to those who are coming up the ranks in entertainment about networking?
Um, you're right. I mean, for me, anybody that you work with on the set, from the intern to the PA, they are all somebody that has, in most cases, an invested interest in their career, their future. You know, from the grips to makeup to hair to art department to the office PA. And I think in terms of networking, the way I like to approach it is just to get to know people. Ideally, you want to get to know people, and you want to establish your own personal relationship with anybody that you come across, because again, you don't know who that person is that you're talking to. And I was that person many many years ago. I was that intern that nobody would talk to, right? And I quickly rose up the ranks, and I see it, and I see it in people. So for me, um, I don't have a necessarily hierarchical mindset where like you are a peon to me and I am this. I don't have that big ego. I treat everybody equally, and I think that's what I would express to people is, treat everybody as equals. We're all the same. We're all in the same. When we're working on a set, we are all trying to accomplish one goal. And then some people are at different experience levels, and I respect that. Some people just don't know. I remember I didn't know when I was starting this intern. I didn't know what I was doing, right? So if you can impart information to them so that they do know, then please do share the knowledge. You know, I'm not very stingy with my knowledge. I like to give it whenever I can. But in terms of networking, and one thing that I had to realize coming up, and this is a very long journey for me, uh, is your relationships are everything. You know, your your networking skills are going to come into play when you're trying to get those jobs. And because, people are going to, especially again, as non-white people in this world, we will be judged. We're judged by every single thing. People look at me, they judge me. They judge me by the way I dress. They look at me and say, "Oh, you're not a regular Asian," right? They always do that, and I know that, and I know I'm not the same type of person, but I'm very proud of who I am. I'm very proud of my culture, right? But I also realize that I don't see anybody necessarily in my older years now as different from me. We're all the same. We're the same spirit. We're the same people, and that's what I would give to people. Like treat everybody the same, right? And love yourself as well. To not see yourself as lower than the president of this big company or the director on that set or the producer. They are the same person. They're the same human being. Treat them with respect, and but understand the role that you have and the cog that you are in this production. Because in the end, your relationships are everything. In the end, your relationships are going to get you further in your career, right? Build real, true relationships. I was reminded by another friend of mine, Princess Monique, another director friend. I love her so much, who just reminded me, like, hey, when you're building relationships with these executives, with the people that you're trying to get to work with, you have to get to know them. You have to get to know them personally. It's not just about what can you do for me, and that's not how I see people. I try to build real relationships with people respectfully. And I think that's what's going to ultimately get people further. And again, this industry is built on that. Yeah, and I don't know what percentages are, but I'd say your talent is great. Your talent is amazing, but it's not just talent. It's something I had to learn at a early to later years. I'm still learning. It's not just your talent. I used to think it was just about talent, but it's not. It is about your relationships that's going to get the door open. Because once you get the door open, you will gain more experience to get better at what you do, right? As opposed to someone that's already super talented but doesn't have the relationships, which unfortunately is what a lot of times people are faced with. They have the talent, but they don't have the relationships, or the networking skills to get them off the ground. And that's not just as a director. I mean, let's talk about artists in general. There's so much talent out there that nobody knows. So people do
Hmm.
need to use the power of social media, the power of LinkedIn, IG, YouTube right now, which is amazing, for them to get seen, to get known, and to build the relationships they need. That's half the battle.
All right, so I got to follow up. You just said you were talking about the social media, and you mentioned YouTube, and you said YouTube was really powerful right now. I actually just attended a social media workshop, and but different focus. When I say different focus, I think it was more from the acting perspective. But for
Mhm.
aspiring filmmakers, is YouTube a platform that you feel, in 2023 that they need to spend some time on?
Yes, definitely. If I was a young filmmaker right now in my teens or early 20s, I'd probably have a YouTube channel. I would, right? At this point in my career, I don't have time for that, to do that. Although sometimes I wish I could. I wish I could live vicariously to do that. But yes, I would. I probably would, or at least a TikTok channel or something. I don't even use TikTok, but I would do something to showcase my work, to showcase my skills, to showcase who I am as a human being, as a person. Like me, I love video games. I'm a video gamer at heart. It's a passion of mine. I probably would have a video game channel and still talk about filmmaking or script writing, right? But yeah, I mean, I think that's the power of what YouTube is, especially if you're a podcaster, a blogger, video blogger, uh, is to showcase what you know, your skills, your passion, your love. And I think that's what some of these young kids are doing, or especially like the actors. A lot of my friends started on IG. You know, my other friend started on TikTok, and now he's an actor, right? So it's a great way to get seen. I mean, this is something that we didn't have when I started, for sure. Not at all. We had nothing like this. So I think it's a good time. Yeah.
Definitely leveling the playing field. So let's talk a little bit about your workshop, masterclass actually, that you'll be doing at the PNMC Fest on directing. What can attendees expect to learn? Just a little taste, if you will, a little preview.
Um, I I'm coming into it as interactive, whereas I would like to get the people that are in the room to really know where they are in their career, uh, gauge their experience level, and then I will interactively work with them to really get them in a quick amount of time uh, to shift their viewpoint on the craft of directing in terms of what you should be studying, what you should be focusing on when you're shooting, let's say, a short, or even, let's say, what you could be doing when you're just watching television on a daily basis, watching a TV show, right? Maybe things that you can actually look out for that might give you a cue into, hey, I want to do that one day. Well, here's some things you can look out for when you're looking at these things, you know. So hopefully, the goal is to really get the person in the room to be in a different place. So when they leave, they'll be one step further in their career to get them off the ground. So because I would like anybody in that room with me to actually be able to successfully move forward in their career if that's what if that's their choice, if that's their choice in directing. So so we'll go through everything. We'll go through the general production process from general positions on the crew and how a director interacts with them. I'm not going to talk too much about directing actors because that's what the other co-chair Javon's going to do. So I'm going to kind of be very light on that because I'm sure Javon will learn much more with that. But I will maybe give a little bit of directorial side point advice in terms of how I work with actors. So
What is your biggest challenge working in the collaborative environment of filmmaking? Um, I think back to a time where I was directing a project where the executive producer was also the writer. And so there were just certain, I would say, blind spots that oftentimes a writer who may not have that overall um, view of being able to look at everything in the film, because of those blind spots, I felt like it kind of hindered me. Based on the collaborations that you've had thus far, what would you say your biggest challenge has been?
uh, kind of what you're saying, it's communication. When you have a blind spot of communication between another crew, another whoever it is on set. I'm just saying crew, but it could be the writer, it could be the producer. It's finding the middle ground because a lot of times it's just going to be that person has a different opinion. You have a different opinion. Now you have to find a solution. So to be solution oriented uh, in a non-judgmental, non-egoist way is a challenge sometimes because sometimes when you're in the midst of shooting, you're just like, whoa, what's going on here? Why are you yelling at me? Why are you coming at me this way? It happens. It happens. And then the biggest thing, the challenge is going to be how do you, as a leader of the ship, as a director, you're the leader of the ship, how do you negotiate that? How do you successfully find the right solution? Um, Whereas you can steer that ship properly and then still keep everything intact. So that could be the biggest challenge. There's so many other challenges, but in terms of what you just said, that's one of them. So for sure. And then I've learned so much from over the last 2 years working on some of these bigger sets, and it's been such an amazing blessing to learn those, to go through it, but also to learn how to handle it. Right, these challenges make you better, and it's a necessary rite of passage for any director to deal with these challenges.
So let's talk a little bit about you were just talking about the past 3 years. Let's talk about your latest project, Deadly Entanglement. How did that one come about?
Um, that was a project. How did it come about? Uh, I was
How did you
directing
come about? Like, how did you come about being the director for the project?
Uh, let's see. I had previously uh, established a relationship with one of the heads of BET, named John, and so they had already been aware of my work. So my manager had contacted them and gave them my stuff. So I think when the opportunity came, I was still directing another TV movie, which is coming out next month, which I'll put a plug in. It's called First Comes Love, Then Comes Murder, TV1. Shouts to TV1. Love those people. Uh, I was directing that one literally the last few days, and I got the email with this BET script for Deadly. It used to be called Deadly Ex-Wife. That was the original name. They then changed it to Deadly Entanglement, which I think is a better name. So shouts to BET for that. So, but yeah, it was a great experience. It was really, really wonderful working with the actors. We had Monica Calhoun from The Best Man, Vanessa Simmons, who a mini legend in her own making, and who is really a truly amazing actress that I'd like to see more of her grow as well. She's really truly amazing. And then some new actors which I really loved as well. So Memphis Cade, Devarier, Jessica, they're really great actors.
So what?
All like stars. They're all stars in the making. So what a blessing to work with such a great crew and great actors. So if you guys get the chance to see it, please watch it. It's on BET Plus. And I'm actually proud of the film. Proud of the film.
That's good. Proud of that work.
I can truly sit here as a director and say I'm proud of this TV movie I did for BET. It's really good. So yeah, because we all put our passion into it, and that's one thing that I love about working in production is when the whole team, top to bottom, from the producers to the PAs, actually care about the project, enough to actually you know have a little bit of intent when you're going in together and working together. I mean, that's what we did. We had a really good set, good crew.
Always good when you got that good collaborative crew. So shout
Yeah,
out to
for sure.
everyone on that project. So what's next for Bobby?
Well, like I said, the next project is coming out July 16th. It's called First Comes Love, Then Comes Murder. It stars a few other actors, up and coming star Jennifer Spears, who's amazing as well as Rayon Lawrence, who's a really good actor that was on a show called BMF this past season, as well as Givia Joseph, who is you might know him from a show called Zatima on BET. So I mean, again, another blessing to work with three really great actors, and also Leslie Black, another actress who I believe she has her own starring role in the movie coming up as well. So it's a crime drama, which is a little different for me, uh, with a little twist. But it's a fun movie, which I'm really excited about. So we should have the trailer coming up pretty soon. So that's the next project. Yeah. And
So we
then
will.
then I
Uh oh.
had my then I had my first movie I did, which was called Stalker. It was re-released on Lifetime just a few months ago. It's called Stalked by Her Past, and that's on Lifetime as we speak, so you can see that as well. And that one stars Meta Golding and Christian Keys, two another amazing group of people. So
Awesome. Any parting words for either aspiring actors, aspiring directors, or I know that you also do some editing. And my goodness, let me tell you, the first time that I sat and watched two different editors work on something that I directed, I was like, oh my gosh, an editor can make or break your film. I did not know that until I saw two totally different things. I was like, this looks
yeah,
like two different
yeah,
movies.
yeah, definitely. Editing is such a an amazing skill to have. And yeah, I think shouts to all the editors out there because they save they a good editor will save your project for sure, for
Hmm.
sure. Yeah, I know for me, I edit as well, and as a director that edits, I'm very hands on in the post production process. But it's also when I shoot, I'm shooting literally editing in my head. You know, something I also learned from Michael Schultz. He does the same thing. He tells me everything he directs, he's editing in his head. He's like a machine. You know, and it's a skill, it's a gift, something you can develop, but uh, it is truly not appreciated enough. I think in this world. So, but yeah,
Well, Bobby, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come by the B roll and talk to us. We look forward to seeing you in Portland in August.
thank you so much, Angela. Appreciate you so much. Thanks for having me. And I'm excited to be there for the festival and meet everybody in person.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, that is it for this episode of the B roll. Again, the PNMC Fest is coming up August 17th through the 20th in Portland, Oregon. If you do not have your festival passes, make sure you visit the website, get those passes, make your hotel arrangements and your travel arrangements. We look forward to seeing you there. And again, thank you so much to Bobby Yan for being our special guest today. Until next time, I'm Angela Ray. Take care. Bye bye.